I've been traveling, I think 15, 16 hours since I left London this morning. And I've had a stopover in Salt Lake City, and now I've arrived to my destination, which is Billings, Montana. My first time in Montana, and I'm going to be spending almost a week here in Billings. And I'm just outside this small terminal waiting for my Uber, and his name is Richard, and he should be arriving very soon.
I'm back in the US of A after a brief stay in London. In this episode, I'll be in Montana and Yellowstone National Park, where I get up close with a bunch of buffaloes and a big bear.
Where'd you start from?
London.
Ooh, yeah. Okay.
So a little bit of a jet lag as well, but it's not so bad going this way.
My name's Palapo, and this is the Radio Vagabond.
This is the Radio Vagabond.
We are the largest city in the state. We serve about a 500-mile radius as the largest economic hub.
This is Stefan Katerin of Visit Billings. I met up with him and asked him to say a few words about this city.
We're a railroad town founded in 1882 and part of that Western American expansion era. Yeah. And at one time, we were dubbed the Magic City, as many cities across the United States were, because of how quickly the city was birthed. But we've since become kind of a progressive cradle in this region.
And just to finish the trains, you have some long trains here?
We have some long trains, yeah. The train runs right through the heart of downtown and services very
If you want to cross, you better do it before the train comes, because it goes on for 15 minutes.
Yeah, you can find yourself stuck behind a train every once in a while. There are the locals will get you around though. Yeah. But yeah, it's a remarkable city. It draws people in from all of the rural parts of the region, and is really catching people's eyes to a livability as far as the cost of living as well as just the immediate access to recreation. There isn't any outdoor activity you can't do here.
No. But just to describe it, it's not the typical city with the skyscrapers. It's only around 100,000 people, and that's so funny because that's pretty much a little bit bigger than the small city of Denmark that I come from. And in my city, we have 3 hotels, but here you have I don't know how many.
Yeah, we serve about 5,000 room nights, 50 hotels.
That's insane.
Yeah, Montana has a draw. People want to come here, and so we get a lot of leisure travel. We get people driving here to the state. Billings is a necessary stop along the way. We sit, between Denver, Seattle, Minneapolis, so you get a lot of that through traffic as people make their way across the country. But a very unique destination. We're on the tipping point of the Rocky Mountains and the Native American Plains, and so when you stop in Billings, you get kind of pick your poison, right? Do you want the Western Wild West history? Yeah. Do you want rolling rivers and mountains and wildlife? We can create and you can experience just about all of that here.
Travel is possible at any age. Your sense of adventure is just over the horizon. So, reach out and grab it. This is the Radio Vagabond.
Let's have a few more facts.
And now, facts about where we are.
With around 100,000 people, Billings is the largest city in Montana, and it's known for its rich history, diverse culture, and thriving economy. Montana is nicknamed the Treasure State because of its abundant natural resources, including coal, oil, gold, and silver. Billings was once the hub for cowboys and is still known for its rodeo culture, hosting the Montana Fair Rodeo each summer. Montana is home to more than 1 million acres of national parks and forests, making it a popular destination for outdoor enthusiasts. You can also find the longest undammed river in the lower part of the US here. It's the Yellowstone River. Montana is one of the largest producers of organic wheat in the United States and is known for its delicious wheat-based products. Montana is also known for its thriving arts and music scene. with several venues in Billings hosting live performances and events year-round. You have a lot of space here. With only 7 people per square mile, Montana is the 3rd least densely populated state in the US. Only Alaska and Wyoming have fewer people per square mile.
And that was facts about where we are. Coming up later in this episode.
At the end of this episode, I will have been driving across Wyoming to a unique rock that became famous and played a special role in the Steven Spielberg movie. I'll give you an idea of what I'm talking about with these 5 notes. Here I'll try to get an interview with a ranger.
I think the word you're searching for is space ranger.
But this is America and very bureaucratic. Getting anyone working at a national park to repeat something they just said to visitors into a microphone for a podcast is a long and very difficult process, something I experience again and again in this country. Hear what that's all about later in this episode.
And now, let's get back to the show.
Another road trip of the U.S. This time it's in the western part, and I'm heading from Billings down to Denver. But I have a few stops on the way, a few iconic stops, and that's what I'm going to share with you. But just as I picked up the rental car here at the airport in Billings, I met somebody in the airport, and he said that I should go to this historical museum that's located right here opposite the airport. And this is where I am now, and it didn't look big from the outside, but then I go downstairs and it's quite big and has a lot of unique things regarding the history, especially the Native Americans, as far as I can see here from the beginning of the exhibition. Beautiful. It's definitely something you should do.
The museum is called Yellowstone County Museum. It's placed right on top of the rim and next to Billings Logan International Airport. There's an amazing view here, but once you head inside the historical cabin, you can see more than 20,000 artifacts. Here I have a chat with Executive Director Terry Steiner.
I did not know there was a museum this close to the airport. Can you explain what people can expect when they get here? Well, obviously, I know because I've just been downstairs.
Okay, the museum is the historical Paul McCormick cabin, built in 1891, brought to this location to the Billings Airport in 1954 from downtown Billings. It was a cabin owned by one of the historical figures of Billings, Montana.
So the cabin itself was brought here as well?
Yes, there's a picture of it right here.
Oh my God. Took it down piece by piece and then...
they did. They brought it up in its entirety.
Oh, wow.
And so at that time, 27th, the highway coming up from downtown Billings was the 2-lane, very steep.
Yeah.
So as they made it a 4-lane, they cut the grade down. So these rocks you can't even see now. So this cabin barely fit through there. It has the original sod roof on it.
Yeah.
And this is the social cabin. So there's a picture of it in 1900 as a social cabin.
Yeah. You mentioned doing it without the modern technology and the modern machinery.
Yes. And so the 2 gentlemen on your left and right were Teddy Roosevelt and Buffalo Bill. They were personal friends of Paul McCormick's.
Oh.
And they quite frequently came up to sit down and drink cheap scotch and probably smoke cigars in this cabin. In this cabin.
I really feel I'm in a historical
And so,
place.
yeah, he would socialize, and he'd have anywhere between 60 and 70 people in here for social events.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty good-sized cabin.
Yeah.
Downstairs, we have a complete wagon that was owned by Mr. Paul McCormick on his ranch.
Yeah.
And at one time in the late 1890s, he leased most of the Crow Reservation, ran 30,000 head of cattle.
Yeah.
And so we have his complete wagon downstairs.
Yeah, and coming from Europe, I always imagined that the Wild West was further south, but you had Wild West here.
Right. Montana, especially in eastern Montana, from the Continental Divide east through North and South Dakota and Wyoming, was Native American Indian territory. Yeah. So there was not many settlers out here. Yeah. The only reason they started coming out here is the railroad was coming through in the 1880s. And after the Custer battlefield, the Rosebud, the Custer battlefield, they started putting more of the Native American people on reservations, and so they would open the land up for settling. So most of it were ranches, huge ranches. We've got a wagon out on the patio that was used in 4 cattle drives from Texas to Montana, and they moved 100,000 head of cattle up here. From Texas to Montana. That's incredible.
That's incredible.
Yellowstone County Museum has been open to the public since 1956. The McCormick Cabin was built as a space for social gatherings by Paul McCormick in 1893 in present-day downtown Billings. The cabin was moved to its current position in 1954 to serve as the museum entrance. They have a buffalo here, with fur on one side and a skeleton on the other. Or is it a bison?
Buffalo. We would say buffalo here.
But on the 2 panels, one says bison, one says buffalo.
But you don't say bison nickel, do you? Buffalo nickel. In fact, I'm in coins too. I was just at Audie's.
Well, somebody was telling me because buffalo are in Africa, bison were in North America.
Correct, but it's a generic term, and I like the connotation of buffalo. So.
Okay.
But Buffalo, Wyoming, right? That's a town.
But they have the bison bar.
I can't win.
Good point.
Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you, sir.
So we'll step out and we'll
Bye
visit.
again.
I'll be right back, Zach. Welcome.
It's been fun.
It's been busy. So
We got to check out the buffalo.
So it's either bison or buffalo, depends on really how you want the terminology.
Yeah. And it's taller than me.
It should be about 6 feet at the shoulder and weigh about 18 to 1,900 pounds. That's what this one weighed.
I wonder how much that is in kilos, but
I don't know.
Never mind.
You can do the changeover.
Yeah. And then on the other side, which is really interesting, it's a skeleton.
It's the skeleton. As he preserved the buffalo, he went, because he's a veterinarian, and so he preserved it, the bone structure, and had it put in kind of like a plaster type stuff for it would never deteriorate. Mm-hmm. So it shows the skeletal part of the bison on the right hand side of it, looking at the head.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much, Terry.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
If you're landing in or flying out of Billings, take time to visit the museum, and it's free.
Thank you, mister.
The name's Bond.
Radio Vagabond.
Now I'm starting the road trip, and when I met with Stefan of Visit Billings, I thought he would be the best to ask what I should see.
You can't go wrong. You want to go north, south, east, or west. Truly, we're known as Montana's trailhead, so we're really kind of that hub to get you into all the great Montana adventures. But I would say you want to head southwest over the Beartooth Mountains. That's the Beartooth Highway. It is known as an all-American road, one of a handful in the United States.
And down in that area, there's a little place called Yellowstone.
Yes, it does take you from Billings directly into Yellowstone, only 129 miles. Yeah. And it is breathtaking views up over 11,000 feet in elevation.
Yeah. After seeing the buffalo, or bison, in the Yellowstone County Museum, I headed south to see some real ones in Yellowstone National Park.
I entered Yellowstone National Park from the northeastern side, and I've been driving up for about half an hour inside the park itself, and it's a very, very big area. And along the road, I noticed that some cars had stopped, so I was wondering what was going on, and I stopped as well. And here by the side of the river, there are hundreds of buffaloes. There's just so big and magnificent animals, and they sound different than I thought they would. More like a growling sound. In between all these buffaloes, there was one single coyote. When I just saw it, I thought, oh my God, is that a wolf? But it's not. It was a coyote, and it came pretty close to the buffaloes, and they started chasing him out of there. I said, don't get too close, you. But otherwise, they're kind of lazy, just growling around.
Yellowstone National Park is one of the most stunning and unique natural wonders in the United States. Spanning across 3 states, Wyoming, Montana, and Idaho, this massive park covers over 2.2 million acres. That's almost 9,000 square kilometers, and is about the size of Puerto Rico or Cyprus. It's home to an incredible array of geysers, hot springs, and other geothermal features. You can also spot a lot of wildlife like bears, wolves, buffaloes, or bisons, and elk. And it's surrounded by breathtaking and scenic views that are simply awe-inspiring.
It's $35 to get into Yellowstone National Park, but I recommend that you do what I did. I got an annual pass for all the national parks here in the U.S., also some national forests and a few other things as well. And that's $80, so a little bit more than double, but it's also valid for 2 people. I put my signature on it, and there's still room for another person to put the signature on there. So it really is valid for 2 people. So I would say $80 for that, even though I'm not going to be using it for a year. I'm only using it for this month, a little bit more than a month, and I'm here in the US this time. But it's a pretty good offer, I think.
The park's history is rich and fascinating. It was the first national park in the world, established all the way back in 1872. Over the years, it's become a beloved destination with millions of visitors every year. One of the most awe-inspiring aspects of Yellowstone National Park is its over 10,000 geothermal features, and we, as visitors, can witness the power of these natural wonders as they boil, bubble, and steam in the midst of the rugged wilderness. I'm driving towards one of the most famous of these. It's called Old Faithful, and there's a reason for that, but I'll get back to that. Another fascinating aspect of the park is its diverse wildlife that can be seen roaming freely throughout the park. Visitors can also spot a number of bird species, including eagles, ospreys, and other birds of prey, making it a bird watcher's paradise.
Hey! I need to move! Move! Who makes you call? Oh my God! Get back!
I just stopped again and wondering why a lot of people were taking photos, and then I saw it. There was a bear, a big black bear, probably a grizzly, but I'm no expert. And it was at the side of the road. We have been told in the brochures that they gave us entering the park that we should stay at least 100 yards away from the bears and the wolves. And this one was across the road. It was literally across the road from me, and actually on the other side of the road there were more people standing on the parking lot taking photos even closer. And it was just calmly sniffing around at the side of the road. And I thought, it's not safe. And actually at the end it moved away from the side of the road and wanted to go into the back again, and got onto the parking lot and walked past the group of people. The guy who was closest, there was an elderly guy, and he was so close, like 1 or 2 meters away from it. It was crazy. Then somebody came in a car and shouted, "Hey, move, move."
I actually caught this on video, and on the radiovagabond.com you can see it.
Yeah.
Hear the car with the rangers approaching and them shouting, "Move!"
That old guy could quickly have become lunch for the bear.
You'll be shocked to see how close some of the people are, just a few feet away from this huge bear.
It's not only the bears that and the wolves that can be dangerous here in Yellowstone. There's a limit to 100 yards away from the wolves and bears. But for all other animals, it's stay at least 25 yards away. More space is better. I'm standing here looking at a sign with a picture of a buffalo. Or in this case, it says bison, so we're sticking to bison. It's got a picture of a bison, and the headline is, "Looks can be deceiving. Bison seem lazy and docile grassing in the sun. They are massive and look as if they can hardly move. Do not be fooled. They are wild animals. They can spring to their feet in an instant if they feel threatened. They can leap over fences and run 35 miles per hour. They can hurl you high in the air with one toss of the horn. The bison know where you are, so be aware of their personal space at all time. Do not frighten them or give them a reason to be angry. They are dangerous and unpredictable. And then it says in a larger font and in red, people have been killed by bison in Yellowstone. Please respect them. I stopped at another place where you got one of those hot springs, and I'm making my way up to a place where just steam comes out of the ground.
One of the most popular attractions in the park is Old Faithful, a geyser that's been erupting for thousands of years. It's one of the most famous geysers in the world and a major tourist attraction here. Old Faithful got its name from the fact that it erupts every 90 minutes, making it a reliable and predictable geological feature. It erupts by sending a column of steam and hot water into the air, reaching a height of up to 185 feet, more than 55 meters. The eruption lasts between 1.5 and 5 minutes, and even though it's faithful nature, the intervals between eruptions can vary a bit. But they do have a sign predicting when the next eruption is going to be.
Okay, so now I've arrived to what's one of the main attractions here in Yellowstone National Park. It's the biggest geyser called Old Faithful, and it's so faithful that they almost know exactly when it's going to erupt. It happens every an hour and a half, and they predict when it's going to happen. I was at a visitor center half an hour ago, and they had a board where they write what time is the next time it's going to erupt, if that's the right word, and they said 3:23. So I made my way here, got here just a few minutes ago at 3:13. So now it's 9 minutes until the eruption, and I'm not the only one here. There are thousands and thousands of people just sitting on benches waiting for it to happen. And while we're waiting for the Old Faithful, let me remind you that this episode is supported in part by Hotels25.com. It's a website that helps you find the best prices on hotel rooms and guest houses and hostels around the world. In one simple search, you should try it out. Okay, now it's happening. Already, that's too early. Wow.
Old Faithful is one of the most famous and well-studied geysers in the world, and is a symbol of natural beauty and geological wonders of Yellowstone National Park. It's a must-see destination for anyone visiting the park, and is an experience that I'll never forget. I'm watching it from the viewing platform, but you can also take a guided tour and learn more about the geyser and the surrounding areas. The Old Faithful Visitor Education Center is also a popular destination, offering information about the geysers and other geothermal features of the park. I spent some time here and also watched an interesting video in their movie theater.
You're watching the Earth in transformation. A collision of water, heat, and rock.
Overall, Yellowstone National Park is one of the most unique and stunning natural wonders of the U.S. Whether you're an avid hiker, a nature lover, or simply just somebody who loves going out exploring new places, Yellowstone National Park is an unforgettable destination that is sure to leave a lasting impression. And my visit to this incredible park is an experience that I'll never forget.
The ultimate destination for armchair travelers who are looking for inspiration to get out into the real world and let loose their wanderlust.
We're almost at the end of this episode, but before we wrap it up, I have one more experience I want to share with you. This mountain is called Devil's Tower, and it's actually not a mountain. It's a geologic formation, a monolith, and to put it more bluntly, a massive chunk of rock rising out of the prairies like a middle finger flipped at the sky. The rock itself is like nothing you've ever seen before, and truly a sight that will take your breath away. A testament to the raw power of Mother Nature. With a unique flat top, it's rugged and covered in deep growths that speak to the millions of years it's been standing here. As you approach, you can feel the energy of the place. A pulsing beat that hums through the ground and up into your bones, and you can sense that history and mystery as you wander the base. Devil's Tower became famous after serving as a centerpiece in the 1977 science fiction movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Directed by Steven Spielberg, the film tells the story of a group of people who have encounters with aliens after seeing strange lights in the sky. The main character, played by Richard Dreyfuss, creates a copy of this tower in his living room, and then is drawn there, even though the government in the movie tells people to stay away. They didn't tell me to stay away, just to stay away with my microphone. I am at Devil's Tower now. You remember the iconic mountain from the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind, where the aliens land on top of this, and I'm standing right at the foot of it looking up. I was just in the visitor center and had a nice conversation with the guys in there, and I said, do you mind if I record what you're saying here, because I think it's so interesting? And they said, well, you better go talk to somebody. I think you might need a permit for that. And then I just started laughing because this is what happens to me. So I went over to an office and spoke to a guy in there. I just came out of there. And he said, no, you have to have a special permit for that, and you have to apply for that. We can set you up with the media, blah, 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 blah. And I just started laughing. I said, this is what happens to me every time I try to get somebody to speak on tape in the U.S. and only in the U.S. So here I am at the foot of Devil's Tower, and the American bureaucracy won't let me talk to anyone, at least not this week. So there's not going to be any rangers that had some interesting stories about this mountain. They have rock climbing on here. You can actually climb up there if you dare. They've been doing that since the 30s, and one of the guys in there, he told me that they've only had, I think, 6 fatal accidents. And then he showed me a picture of him. It was an elderly guy, and he showed me a picture of him falling last week and really hurt himself pretty bad. The tower itself is 4,250 feet, and it's truly, it's so weird standing here at the foot of it. In the movie, the aliens communicate with the humans on the ground through a series of musical tones. And to this day, even though it was just a movie, many people come to this place in the hope of having their own close encounter. It's one of the most recognizable landmarks in the American West and is a protected national monument. It's a popular destination for rock climbers, hikers, and nature enthusiasts. It's also considered sacred by several Native American tribes who have a long and rich cultural history tied to the rock. So if you find yourself in Wyoming, make the pilgrimage to Devil's Tower. Stand in its shadow, feel its power, and be humbled by the sheer force of nature that created this magnificent landmark. And if you're hoping to do an interview for a podcast, ask a long time in advance.
The radio vagabond took a trip to Montana's land, where cowboys once roamed, wild and bold and grand. He visited a museum, in an old cabin brought, with artifacts and stories, all worth a second thought. He spoke with Terry, learned about the past, saw a buffalo, or was it a bison at last? Then off to Yellowstone, where nature did astound, a bear so close, the thrill made him resound. The old faithful geezer, shooting high in the air, a sight to behold, a memory so rare. Days he'll never forget, in this big western state, where the radio vagabond, his journey did create. And then he went to Wyoming, where aliens once took flight, a special mountain, where close encounters took sight. The radio vagabond, on his travels will roam, bringing tales and wonders to his listeners back home.
If you like what you hear, please share it with a friend. Thanks for having me in your ears. My name is Palle Bo, and I gotta keep moving. See ya.
Radio Vagabond. Produced by RadioGuru.co.uk.